We're surrounded by this hidden world of materials that literally builds everything around us. From the massive buildings we work in to the tiny screens we can't live without. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and take a look at the incredible world of metals. So let's just jump right in with a question. Think about a giant skyscraper, this huge symbol of strength and engineering, and then think about the slick, shiny screen on your smartphone. I mean, they couldn't be more different, could they? But it turns out they share a really fundamental secret. And here it is. They are both built from this hidden world of critical metals. So what we're going to do is explore all the different types, from the super common ones to the incredibly rare, and figure out why they are so essential to our lives. Okay, so where do we even begin? Let's start with the absolute giants. I'm talking about the metals that form the literal backbone of our civilization. Think big, think heavy, think fundamental. The one thing you really need to know about this first group is just immense volume. We are talking about metals that we produce in quantities that are almost hard to wrap your head around. They are the bedrock of industry and everything we build. I mean, just look at how familiar these names are, right? Iron for our buildings and cars, aluminum for airplanes, copper for all the wiring that connects our world. These are what we call the base metals. Their whole value is in their strength, their abundance, and the fact that we can produce them on a truly massive scale. They really are our essential building blocks. All right, so we've talked about the heavy lifters. Now we're going to totally switch gears. Let's shift our focus from sheer quantity to quality. This next group of metals isn't about building the biggest things. It's all about providing power, commanding crazy high prices, and holding some serious strategic prestige. And this slide just breaks down that difference perfectly. We're moving away from a focus on volume and brute strength to things like rarity and strategic value. We're essentially trading the world of infrastructure for the worlds of high-stakes finance and cutting-edge tech. So first up in this group, you've got the financial big boys, gold, silver, and what are known as the platinum group metals. That includes platinum, palladium, and rhodium. Their value isn't just about being shiny. It's because they're rare and they don't corrode, which makes them a safe place to put money and also makes them crucial for things like the catalytic converters in our cars. And then, you've got what a lot of people are calling the new oil, the battery metals. Lithium, cobalt, nickel, these are the rock stars powering our electric cars and storing all that energy we're getting from solar panels and wind turbines. As we push harder and harder for a green economy, the demand for these metals it's going through the roof. Okay, now we get to what I think is the really cool part. We're about to meet the unsung heroes of the metal world. These are the secret ingredients, the little bits of magic that make our entire digital lives actually work. But first, let's clear something up. The name rare earth elements is honestly a little misleading. They're not always globally rare in the ground. The problem is it's incredibly difficult and expensive to find them packed together in a high enough concentration to actually make mining them worthwhile. And that's what makes them so special. So how do these strange-sounding elements actually, show up in your life? Well, those headphones you're wearing, they're probably powered by super strong magnets made from neodymium. The bright, vivid colors on your TV or phone screen, that's a team effort from elements like yttrium and europium. Even the super sharp lens in your phone's camera probably uses lanthanum. See, it's not abstract science. It's the magic behind the tech we use every single day. But wait, the story doesn't end there. There's another whole group of metals, the extreme specialists, that do critical jobs in some of the most demanding environments you can possibly imagine. Yeah, we're talking about alloying metals like tungsten, which makes steel unbelievably hard, and other industrial metals like gallium and indium, which are absolutely vital for making things like semiconductors and touchscreens. These are the elements that are constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible in aerospace, in defense, and in electronics. So we have all these materials that are absolutely critical for, everything. So what happens next? You guessed it, you get a high-stakes global power play. When something is this essential, controlling its supply is a massive source of geopolitical power. And wow, this chart right here really says it all, doesn't it? For so many of these critical rare earths and specialty metals, the vast majority of the mining, and maybe even more importantly, the processing, is concentrated in one country, China. And that creates a huge potential vulnerability for pretty much everyone else's supply chains. And the risks here go way beyond just geopolitics. The mining that we need for our green energy future, especially for stuff like lithium and cobalt, comes with some really tough environmental questions. And then you add in the fact that the prices for these materials can go on an absolute roller coaster depending on the global markets, and you've got a very, very complicated situation. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this. From the iron holding up our bridges to the tiny bit of rhenium in a jet engine, this entire complex spectrum of metals is, quite simply, indispensable for modern civilization. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. A century ago, it was all about steel. Right now, everyone's obsessed with lithium and neodymium. But as our technology keeps evolving at lightning speed, you have to wonder, what's next? Which element, maybe one we barely even talk about today, is going to become the next global obsession?